channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you haven't met me yet, I am a full-time working mom with a toddler baby girl, and on this channel I like to talk about all things design, specifically focusing on the home, how it impacts our mental well-being, and just different things we can do daily to improve that. So if that all sounds good to you, please make sure to like and subscribe. I release videos every Sunday. In today's video, I wanted to talk about small space solutions. So we're renting this townhome, which we moved into this past November, and it's a new construction, so it has a smaller footprint overall. So originally for the kitchen, I did want a larger space. I was particularly thinking about the counter space. So the space that I have to work with for the kitchen itself, as far as floor space is concerned, I had about 78 inches by about, what was the number I measured? I had about 78 by about 125 inches to work with as far as floor space. So I had it in my head that I kind of wanted to add more countertop space. Cabinetry, not a super issue. Countertop, I really wanted to have more countertop space to work with as far as prepping and cooking, and I do use my kitchen a lot, so that was one thing that I wanted to add. And because we're in a rental, I had to think of a couple of different ways that I could achieve this without actually building an island. Hence, we have movable furniture. If you're looking to add a little bit more storage or a little bit more counter space to your home, I would consider that you measure your space and make sure you have enough space to add an island, albeit a removable one. You want to make sure that you have a good amount of walkways surrounding your space. You will see from the intro video that my entryway is directly to my right over here. The access to the home would be directly behind this island here. So I wanted to make sure that I had a good amount of space between the island and the walkway that leads to the rest of my space. So I did measure to make sure I had at least 30 inches, and I have about 34 inches between my entry shoe cabinet and my island here. And then all of the areas surrounding the island, I have about 36 inches. That's including the fridge, which I'm currently sitting in front of. So there was definitely ample space to add an island. I just had to make sure that I got an island that wasn't too big for the space. I wanted something a little petite that made sense in the space, and I was very lucky to find this. I ended up finding it on Wayfair. So I was eyeballing it for a while, and then I decided to just lock in and get it. And like I said, storage wise, it wasn't a super issue because the ceiling heights on my bottom floor are a little bit taller. So it's about 9 feet as opposed to the typical 8 feet. So the cabinets are a little bit higher. So anything that I'm not really using, I usually put that at the top. And then anything that I'm using on like a day-to-day or more frequently, I put that lower where I can reach it without having to get my ladder out because I'm only 5'2" to get to those items. So cabinets, not an issue. Countertop space, I definitely wanted more of, especially since I have appliances and different things sitting out on my counter. So that's something that you want to consider. What is the purpose of this island? What do I need it for? What do I want it for? Because you really want to make sure that it makes sense in your space. So for me, the purpose was to get more countertop space, and then I found an island that also had storage, just adding a little bit more functionality. Also, since I'm renting, I knew I wanted something that was versatile, functional, and budget friendly. Also something that I could take with me when I leave. And there were also similar ones on Wayfair too, but obviously I'm going to link this one. There are quartz countertops, which has like this faux marble look, and this kind of had the same thing. And of course it's not exactly the same as my current kitchen countertops, but it's pretty close, and they're not directly next to each other anyway. So like for example, this one has more striations than the marble, and it's not quartz, it's some type of laminate. But I did like the look of this, and the design of this and the aesthetic fit very well with the rest of my space, including the brown color strips that it has, the iron bars of the support for the rest of this countertop. So you also want to think about size. This measures 47 by about 24, very rough measurements. Math is not my strong suit. About 47 by 24, and this is just perfect enough when I'm coming in. I drop groceries here. If I'm carrying a bag, I drop it here. In the morning, if I want to have like a coffee or a tea, I sit here perched in my kitchen. If I'm prepping food, I can sit here on the stool and prep food here. So the size of this was absolutely perfect for the purposes of what I needed it for, and also I wanted to make sure that it fit in my space well, without it being too big, causing too much clutter and causing the walkways to be too jammed. So another thing that you want to consider is the price. I believe, actually let me the price really quick. I think it was like around $160, but I want to double check. Okay, $165. So I felt like the price for this was absolutely amazing. I feel like it's very budget friendly, especially for a furniture piece that's gonna last me for a little bit. So far, the countertop has been working really well. It just wipes up with soap and water. It does say any spills that you get on it to immediately clean it up, which I typically do anyway, but I wanted something that was budget friendly, not too expensive. I didn't want to go crazy and all out because, like I said, this is a rental. So in my next space, whatever I decide to utilize it for, I know that I didn't spend a ton of money on it, and I'm hoping that I'll get even more use out of it. Also, I wanted something that was somewhat non-top as I'm trying to transition to more non-top products. This one said, actually let me look what it says right now. So this one says that it's Title VI compliant, California 93120 compliant. So I know a lot of furniture with formaldehyde has the Prop 65 warning. I haven't actually looked this up to see what's exactly compliant with. But I did like the idea of the metal legs because I felt like metal is a naturally non-tox option as opposed to a lot of plywood that has formaldehyde. So let me look this up now. Title VI compliance ensures that persons receiving federal financial assistance do not discriminate against individuals based on their race, color, or national origin. It prohibits denying benefits excluding participation. Okay, Title VI compliant. So non-discriminatory. That's awesome. Let's check on California 93120 compliant. Products that meet the emission standards set by the California Air Resource Board for formaldehyde in composite wood products, particularly hardwood, plywood, particle board, and particle board, and medium density fiberboard. This regulation, often called California Phase 2, aims to reduce formaldehyde emissions from these materials. So I don't know what came first, if it was this California 93120 compliant or if the Prop 65 came first. However, it does say that it meets a standard for reducing the toxic effects of formaldehyde from certain types of plywood and other types of wood. So I like the idea of that. So in that regard, even if it's not completely toxin free, I know that they've taken efforts to minimize it, and I knew that I wasn't going to get a $160 island that also came with 2 chairs, by the way, by finding something that was hard stone, or that was actually stone, like a real marble or potentially a quartz. So that was good enough for me for now. So I did also really like that in combination with it being budget friendly, versatile, and very functional. So the next thing to consider is storage. So I would recommend items that are aesthetic but also useful. I do like the design style of form follows function. I love pieces that are functional, and I really do feel like they should be functional foremost and the design should follow. When you're considering a kitchen island for your space, I would think about the functionality of it for your space, and also the storage component, which for me is not as big but definitely a plus. So I would say when you're thinking about what type of storage you're putting specifically in the shelves that are in this unit, or if you select another kitchen island with a similar style that also has shelving in it, I would first think about the function of it. What are some items that you can put there that helps you to maximize your storage but also has an aesthetic appeal? Because open shelving displays everything, you don't want your space to look cluttered, especially if it's a smaller space like this one. I don't want it to start looking super cluttered, but I do want to think about the functionality of it. So I would consider putting things like serving bowls or serving trays, or maybe some greenery. Or if you don't need a toddler friendly option, you can also put something like glassware, wine bottles, something that adds almost like a little mini bar. If you do have a lot of miscellaneous items, I would say put that in a really nice basket that you can keep on your shelf. That way it's containing all your little miscellaneous products, but you have one solid thing to look at as opposed to a bunch of little things just sitting out. And don't get me wrong, you can also make that look cute if you put like little trinkets and things, but make sure you keep it consistent, whatever that may be, because spaces that are open can tend to look very cluttered very fast if you don't handle it in a more simplified way. So the last thing I would consider is, so my battery died and I just played the video back and I look a hot mess, but it's okay because we're just gonna roll with it. Anyway, let me try to do this really quick because I'm about to finish up before my battery dies again. So the last thing that I want to mention is decorating your island. So like I said before, you don't want to have a lot of clutter, and I think for me, because I have my shoe cabinet or my entryway directly behind me, it already does have some decoration there. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't want to go too crazy with adding too much decoration on top of this island because it's already a little bit smaller. My battery keeps dying, so real quick, I just want to say that I'm not going to be adding too much decoration on my actual island itself. I have enough decoration on the kitchen space itself. I might add maybe like a candle or a little vase. So I have a little something here that the toddler's here. So I have a little something here that makes me happy while I'm sitting here, but that's about it. So that's a wrap for this video. I really hope that you found this helpful. Please feel free to ask me any and all questions that you might have. And also, if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week in the next one. Bye.